She was 7 years old, sitting alone by an abandoned well in the middle of the New Mexico desert. No food, no water, no shelter, just a promise from parents who said they would come back. 3 days passed, then 4. They never returned. When rancher Caleb Holt found her, she looked up at him with eyes that had already seen too much of this world, eyes that had learned to survive on crumbs and broken promises. But here is what breaks my heart. When he offered her food, she whispered, "What if there is nothing tomorrow?" This child had learned that kindness was temporary, that love always came with conditions, that she was someone worth leaving behind. What happened next will stay with you long after this story ends. Because Caleb was about to make a choice that would change both of their lives forever. Family is not about blood. It is about the people who choose to stay when everyone else walks away. Sometimes the ones who save us are not rescuers. They are simply people brave enough to stop when the rest of the world keeps passing by. If this story touches your heart, hit that subscribe button and drop a comment telling me where you are watching from. Your support helps me bring more stories like this to life. Now, let us begin. Caleb was just looking for water. His ranch was an hour north, but the New Mexico sun showed no mercy. This old well had seen 100 travelers, but it had never seen a sight like this. At first he thought the heat was playing tricks on his eyes. But there she sat, a little thing, no more than 7 years old. Her dress, once blue, was now the color of the dirt. Her dark hair was a tangled mess, and her feet were bare and scratched. She did not even look up when his horse stopped. Caleb dismounted slow, not wanting to spook her. "Evening, miss," he said, his voice soft. Her head came up and her eyes, deep and sad, locked onto his. It was a look that had seen too much of this world already. "Just stopping for a drink," Caleb said gently. "Are you waiting on someone?" The little girl gave a small nod, her gaze fixed on the empty trail. "How long have you been out here?" he asked. 3 days, she whispered. "Maybe 4. The words hit Caleb like a punch to the gut. No shelter, no food, out here all alone. "What is your name, little one?" "Lily Mae Carter," she said, clear as a bell. "Well, Lily Mae," he said, crouching down, "I am Caleb Holt. I am waiting for my mama and papa," she said with a faith that hurt to hear. "Our wagon wheel broke. Papa said they would come right back. He promised." Caleb looked around. There were no wagon tracks. There was nothing but his own trail in the dust. He knew the hard truth of this land. Folks sometimes had to make choices that broke your heart. They left behind what they could no longer carry. But he could not tell her that. Instead, he asked, "Are you hungry, Lily Mae?" He found the cloth she pointed to, holding nothing but a few old crumbs. An apple core lay beside it, picked clean. This child knew a hunger no one should. "I've got some beef jerky in my saddlebag," he said carefully. "Your papa would want you to eat, to keep your strength up for when he returns." She hesitated, then gave a slow nod. That simple reason was all she needed to hear. He laid out the food and water, giving her space. She ate like a cautious fox, slow and deliberate, making every single bite last. Watching her, a quiet fury grew in Caleb's chest, aimed at a world that could leave a child so helpless. "You live by yourself?" Lily Mae asked, her voice a little stronger. "I do," Caleb answered. "My wife passed on 7 years back. We never had any children." Lily Mae just nodded, taking it all in. Then she said something that stuck with him. "I am good at being quiet." The little girl, Lily Mae, spoke fast, trying to prove her worth. "I can work," she said. "Papa taught me to fetch water and check eggs. I am real useful." Caleb's heart ached. She was selling herself, thinking no one was coming for her. "Lily Mae," he said gently, "you do not need to prove anything to me." He told her the desert gets cold and dangerous at night with coyotes and snakes. Fear flashed in her eyes. "I have a spare room at my ranch," Caleb offered. "You can get a warm meal and a safe bed. In the morning we will come right back here." She worried her papa would return. "He would not want you out in the dark," Caleb reasoned. Caleb promised to leave a message at the post office so her folks would know. After a long moment, she agreed. Just one night. The ride to the ranch was quiet. Caleb set Lily May in the saddle in front of him. At first, she was stiff as a board. Soon enough, the long day caught up to her, and she leaned back against his chest. Caleb could not remember the last time he held a child. His wife had wanted children, but they never came. After she passed, the ranch house became as empty as his heart. He had grown used to being alone. The last bit of sunlight faded as they reached the ranch. It was a solid house of adobe and timber with a big corral out back. He had built it all himself. His wife had painted the shutters blue, but that color was long faded now. He lifted Lily May down from the horse. She felt as light as a feather. "Come on inside," he said. In the barn, she watched quietly as he unsaddled the horse and brushed him down. Her eyes took in every detail from the stacked hay to the hanging harnesses. "Do you know horses?" Caleb asked. "We had a mule," she answered softly, "before everything broke." Caleb did not ask for more. He led her to the house. Inside was simple but clean, with a big stone fireplace. "There is a basin for washing," he said, pouring fresh water for her. She washed the trail dust from her face and arms with a quiet reverence. While Caleb got a fire going, she looked like a different child. He started making supper, pulling out beans and bacon. "You like beans?" he asked. "Yes, sir. Just Caleb is fine." "Yes, Caleb," she whispered. He cooked while she sat small and quiet, watching. He set a heaping plate of beans and cornbread before her. Lily May just stared at all that food. Her face crumpled and her eyes filled with tears she fought to hold back. "Hey now," Caleb said softly. "What is wrong?" "It is too much," she whispered. "What if there's nothing tomorrow?" Her fear was plain to see. She had learned to live on scraps. A feast felt like a trick that would disappear. "Lily May," Caleb said, his voice thick. "There is plenty more food here. You do not need to save any. Tomorrow will take care of itself," he promised her. "As long as you are here, you will not be hungry. I give you my word." That seemed to reach her. She picked up her spoon and began to eat. She ate like someone who knew that food was a gift. When she finished, her plate was wiped clean. Caleb led her to the small spare room. He wiped the dust off the furniture and pulled a quilt from a chest. His wife had made it years ago. "This should keep you warm," he said, spreading it on the bed. Lily May touched the edge of the quilt. "This is mine for tonight." "That is right." "The whole bed?" The question hit Caleb like a punch. He nodded. "The whole thing is yours. You can stretch out, take up all the room you want." She climbed up carefully, looking like a tiny doll in the middle of that big quilt. "Caleb," she said, her voice barely a whisper, "thank you. For the food. For everything." "You do not need to thank me for common decency, Lily May. Some folks are not decent," she stated, matter of fact. He sighed. "No, I suppose they are not. Are you?" The question hung in the air. She was asking if he was safe, if this warm room was just a temporary trick. "I try to be," he answered honestly. She seemed to accept that. "We will go back to the well first thing in the morning," he promised, the lie tasting like rust. "Okay. Good night, Caleb. Good night, Lily May." He left the door partly open and sank into his chair by the dying fire, the weight of his promise settling deep in his bones. He had lied to give her a single night of peace. But in the morning, he would have to lead her back to that empty well and watch her hope crumble. What then? Send her to the marshal in Socorro? Let the territory swallow her up in some orphanage? The thought soured his stomach. But keeping her was no simple thing. He was a lone rancher. What could he offer a child except his own solitude? People would talk, and she deserved better than a man who had forgotten how to let anyone in. He sat in the dark, listening to the embers fade, caught between two impossible choices. The right thing was rarely the easy thing. Sometimes a man was measured by the promises he was willing to keep, even if it cost him everything. Dawn broke cold and gray. Caleb woke up stiff in his chair. He remembered the girl, the well, and the lie he had told. Peeking into the spare room, he saw Lily May curled on the very edge of the big bed, as if afraid to take up space even in her sleep. He let her be, and went to start a fire for coffee and breakfast. The simple tasks calmed his troubled mind. He was pulling bacon from the skillet when he heard her bare feet on the floorboards. She stood in the doorway, a tangle of hair and uncertainty, her eyes wide in the morning light. "Morning," Caleb said softly. "Come on and sit. Breakfast is ready." He set a plate piled with eggs, bacon, and thick toast in front of her. "Real eggs," she whispered, looking at the food with reverence. "They are from my own chickens." She ate with a slow, deliberate joy that was a world away from the desperate hunger of the night before. "Did you sleep okay?" "Yes, Caleb. Best I have in a long while." Then her eyes found his. "When are we going back to the well?" Caleb put down his fork. "Soon. But first, tell me exactly what your parents said." "Papa said they were going to Sakuro to fix a wagon wheel. And Mama, she just cried and told me to be brave." "Where was this wagon?" she asked. "Just up the trail a little ways." The wheel was busted clean off. A cold knot formed in Caleb's gut. He had been down that trail a dozen times. There was no broken wagon. "Lily May," he said gently, "I'm going to ride out and check on that wagon. Maybe they left a note." Hope flared in her eyes. "Can I go with you?" He hesitated, wanting to shield her from the inevitable truth. "You can come," he said finally, "but you need to understand something. Sometimes the answers we find are not the ones we want. We have to face what is real, not what we wish was true. Do you understand that?" She nodded slowly, though he could see she was still clinging to a sliver of hope. After a silent breakfast, he found her a pair of old boots that were too big but better than nothing. They rode out together, the vast, quiet desert stretching out around them. Lily May sat in front of him, straight and still. "Tell me about your ranch," she said, her small voice breaking the silence. "Not much to tell. Some cattle, some chickens, and a garden that does not like to grow. You do it all by yourself?" "I do." That sounds lonely. The simple truth of her words hit him hard. "I guess it is sometimes." "I do not think I could get used to that," she said. "I do not like how quiet my own head gets when I'm all alone. That maybe I was the problem. If I had just been a better girl, quieter and less trouble, things might have been different." "Lily May, you look at me now." She turned to face him, her brown eyes locking with his. Caleb's voice was steady. "You listen good. What happened with your folks was their own doing, not yours. Children do not make grown-ups leave. Adults leave when they face problems too big for them to handle. Sometimes they make awful choices because they see no good ones. That failure belongs to them, not you. Do you understand me?" She fought back tears. "How can you be so sure?" "Because I know that look. I know what it is to carry a weight that is not yours to bear. I have seen it in the mirror." She turned away, thinking on his words as they rode on in silence. Soon the stone well appeared against the pale dirt, marking the trail that led east toward the town of Socorro. Leading his horse while Lily May walked right beside him. In the wide-open desert, even a short mile can feel like an eternity. The trail had old tracks from horses and wagons, but nothing looked recent. Nothing suggested a family in trouble. They walked quietly, the only sounds being their own footsteps and the creak of Caleb's leather saddle. After about a mile, Lily May stopped cold. "It was right here," she whispered. "I know it was. I remember that big rock." She pointed to a boulder about 20 yards off the trail. "Papa pulled the wagon over right there." Caleb scanned the area like he had 100 times before. There were no wagon tracks, no sign of a breakdown. The ground was undisturbed. He walked in a wide circle, looking for any small thing. A piece of metal, a scrap of cloth, anything. He found nothing. Lily May stood frozen, her eyes searching the empty land. "It was here," she said, her voice rising. "I am not making this up." "I know you are not," Caleb said softly. "Then where is it? Where did they go?" He stood beside her. Lily May, I need you to think hard now. When your folks left you at the well, did that wagon really look broken to you? Did you see the wheel with your own eyes? Her face scrunched up as she tried to remember. I think so. Papa showed it to me. He said the wood was cracked all the way through. She hesitated, a flicker of doubt in her eyes. But maybe I did not look that close. I just believed him. And your folks? Were there other children with you? No, it was just me. Where did you all come from? Where were you headed? We left Kansas back in the spring. Papa was chasing free land out in California. We were supposed to meet Mama's brother in Socorro. She paused, looking confused. But we were supposed to meet Uncle James 2 weeks ago. Papa said we must have missed him. The whole story clicked into place for Caleb with a sad, terrible clearness. A family from Kansas, short on money and hope. It was a story he had heard before. When the dream of the West died, people made hard choices. Caleb knelt down to her level. Did you ever hear your folks arguing about money or this trip? She gave a slow, reluctant nod. They tried to be quiet about it. At night, I would hear Papa say they should turn back. Mama would say they could not, that there was nothing for them in Kansas but debt. Her voice dropped to a whisper. They argued about me. Caleb kept his voice steady, though he felt a fire in his gut. Lily May, what your folks did, leaving you at that well. That was about them, not you. They were lost, and they made a choice they have to live with. It has nothing to do with your worth. Do you understand that? Her voice was brittle. They are not coming back, are they? The truth hung heavy in the air. Caleb could not lie to her. No, honey, I do not think they are. A terrible sound tore from her, a sound of pure heartbreak. She crumpled to the ground, shaking with a sorrow too big for her small body. Caleb sat quietly beside her in the dust, a steady hand on her shoulder, letting her know she was not alone in her grief. When her tears finally ran dry, she asked a question that hung in the silence. What happens to me now? Caleb had dreaded this. The territory had orphanages, but none of them felt right for this brave little girl. I see 2 paths for you, he said gently. We can ride to Socorro. The marshal there can find you a place, maybe a family. Fear flickered in her eyes. Or, she whispered, or you could stay at the ranch with me. For a while, at least. Until we figure things out. You would let me stay? But you do not know me. I might be trouble. A small smile touched Caleb's lips. You waited by a well for 4 days on a promise. You are not the problem here, Lily May. You never were. She looked at him with old eyes, searching for a trick. Why would you do this for someone else's child? Because someone should have. And, he added, because that ranch has been quiet for too long. Maybe we can help each other not be so lonely. I will not be a charity case, she said fiercely. You would not be. You would earn your keep. But if I mess up, then we will fix it together. I am not offering a perfect life, just a safe place to land. She thought for a long moment, the desert wind whipping around them. If I stay, I have some rules. All right, he said. Let us hear them. First, you have to tell me the truth. Always. No lying to spare my feelings. That is fair. What else? I want to learn to read and write better. I can teach you what I know, he promised. And you will never call me a poor orphan. You have my word. Her shoulders straightened. Then yes, I will stay. A silent understanding passed between them. This was not charity. This was 2 lonely souls deciding to face the world together. We ought to make it official in Socorro, Caleb said. I will file the papers to be your legal ward. Your ward, she repeated, testing the word. It means you belong somewhere. It means you belong to yourself, but you have got a place that is yours. The desert no longer felt so empty. Can we go to the well one last time, she asked. I need to say a final goodbye. At the well, she picked up the small cloth bundle she had guarded for days. It held her mother's shawl. She held it to her face, then folded it neatly. "I loved them," she whispered to the empty air, "and I kept my promise. That is all I can do." She turned to Caleb, her eyes clear. "I am ready to go home." The word struck Caleb right in the heart. Home. He had a house, but it had not felt like a home for years. Looking at this determined little girl, he realized maybe home was not a building. Maybe it was something you become for someone else. "All right then," he said, his voice thick with emotion. "Let us go home." The ride back was different. The land seemed brighter. Lily May sat taller in the saddle, asking about the cattle and the land. When they reached the ridge overlooking his ranch, she spoke with wonder. "It looks bigger than I remember," she corrected herself. "I mean, it feels bigger, like there is room now." Caleb knew exactly what she meant. In the yard, he gestured toward the chicken coop. "You want to give the chickens their names?" A real smile, bright and true, lit up her face. "I can name them. They are all yours to name," he said. And as they scattered grain for the birds, Caleb felt the quiet corners of his life finally starting to fill with warmth. Model: one hen acted like the boss, while another one waited for her turn. "They have got personalities," Lily May said. "That one is bossy, and that one is shy, just like people." "Which one am I?" The question surprised him. Caleb looked at her. This little girl had waited for days, had saved her food, and had faced being left all alone with the strength most grown-ups do not have. "You are the one who waits her turn, but you do not back down when it counts. You have learned how to survive, but you have not forgotten how to hope." She took that in, her face serious. "What kind are you?" "I am the kind who forgot there was anything worth hoping for until somebody showed up and reminded me." She looked up at him, and he saw a deep understanding in her eyes. It was not father and daughter, not yet. It was two lonely people who had chosen to trust each other. That night, they ate at the table that had only served one person for 7 long years. Caleb made beans and cornbread. Lily May talked about the chickens in the mountains. "Tomorrow," Caleb said, "we will ride into Sakaro and get the paperwork filed to make things official. You will also need some new clothes. I do not want to be a bother. Lily May, for 7 years I've spent money on nothing but myself and supplies. I reckon I can afford to buy a girl a few dresses. We will get you what you need, not just what you can get by on. There is a big difference." She nodded, but he could see her mind was still stuck in a place where everything was scarce. Later they sat on the porch as the desert cooled down. The sky was filled with thousands of bright, cold stars. "My mama used to say the stars were little holes in the floor of heaven," Lily May said softly. "She said that is how folks who passed on could look down on us." "That is a nice thought. Do you believe it is true?" Caleb thought for a moment. "I believe we tell ourselves stories to understand things that make no sense. And those stories matter. What stories do you tell yourself?" "I used to tell myself that being alone was just easier. That if you did not need anyone, then nobody could ever hurt you." He paused. "Now I think I only told myself that story because I was afraid. I told myself my parents were coming back for me," she said. "I believed it with my whole heart, and I was wrong. You were not wrong to believe in them. You were brave to have hope. That is not the same as being foolish. It just feels foolish right now. That is only because it did not end the way you wanted. But Lily May, if you stop hoping just because you might get hurt, you will never hope for a single thing. A life without any hope is not really living at all." She looked at him, her face serious in the starlight. "Are you hoping for something now?" He answered her honestly. "I am hoping," he said, "that I am good enough to do this right. That I do not let you down like other folks have. That years from now, you will not regret taking a chance on a lonely old rancher. You are doing just fine. It has only been 2 days. That is 2 days more than anyone else ever gave me." The simple truth of her words made Caleb's throat feel tight. They sat in a comfortable silence for a long while after that, just watching the stars. Finally, a big yawn escaped from Lily May. I should probably get to bed. That sounds like a good idea. Tomorrow is a long ride. She stopped at the door. Caleb, yes? Thank you for being honest with me, for telling the hard truth. You see, a person deserves the truth, especially a child. He watched her give a small, real smile before she went inside. Caleb sat on that porch for a long time, thinking. He thought about how a single choice brought him to that well, saving a life. Tomorrow, papers would make it official. She would finally belong somewhere. For the first time in 7 long years, Caleb's ranch house held 2 heartbeats. A quiet fell over the home, a feeling of possibility instead of loss. He walked inside and saw the door to the spare room was open a little. He could hear the soft breathing of a child who finally felt safe. A heavy responsibility settled on him. This was the promise he had made and the one he was determined to keep. The vast, dark land surrounded the house, but inside its walls, something new was beginning to grow. It was not about rescue. It was about 2 lonely people choosing to have hope. Their ride to the town of Socorro started before the sun came up. Lily May was already awake and dressed in her worn blue dress. She ate her breakfast quietly, not wanting to waste a single minute of daylight. Caleb lifted her onto his horse and then climbed up behind her. The journey was 30 miles through rough country. For the first hour, they did not speak, listening only to the horse's steady steps. Lily May watched the sun rise over the mountains. Then her small voice broke the huge silence. "What should I call you?" she asked. "When we get to town, what do I say you are to me?" Caleb had wondered that himself. He asked her, "What feels right to you?" She thought for a moment. "I could just call you Caleb. And if anyone asks, we can say you are taking care of me. That is true enough." He agreed. "That works for me." "And what will you call me?" she asked. "I will call you Lily May," he said. "And if they ask for more, I will tell them you're under my protection. The rest is none of their business." A bright, unexpected laugh escaped her. It was a sound that made Caleb feel a little lighter inside. "Would you really say that to people?" she asked. "I have said worse for much less," he answered. The little girl's next question went deeper than she knew. "Do you not miss having a family?" Caleb paused. "I had a family. My wife. After she passed, I suppose I just got used to being alone." He looked at the child in front of him. "Until now." Later, they stopped by a creek to water the horse. Lily May watched the tiny fish in the water. She turned to him with a serious look. "Can I ask you something strange? Do you think my parents loved me, even though they left me there?" Caleb chose his words with great care. "I think love and what a person is able to do are 2 different things. Their failure was not about your worth, little one. It was about their own limits." "It still hurts," she whispered. "I know it does," he said gently. "But that hurt comes from what they did, not from something broken inside of you. They were not too much for you. They were too little for their task." Lily May thought about his words as they rode on. Soon the town of Socorro appeared on the horizon. It was a rough place, built for the railroad and the mines. False front buildings lined a dusty main street. Caleb rode directly to the marshal's office. He lifted Lily May from the horse, and she stayed close to his side, overwhelmed by all the people and the noise. "You will be all right," Caleb said in a low voice. "Just stay right with me." Inside, a marshal in his 50s with a weathered face looked up from his desk. "Can I help you?" he asked. "My name is Caleb Holt," he began. "This is Lily May Carter. I found her abandoned out by the old well 4 days ago. I want to file the papers to become her legal guardian." The marshal's expression changed from tired to sharp. He looked closely at Lily May, at her worn dress and oversized boots. "Did you report this?" the marshal asked. I am reporting it to you now, Caleb replied. It did not seem right to leave her alone another night just to ask for permission to do a decent thing. The marshal gave a short nod. Fair enough. Both of you sit down. He pulled out some forms and started asking questions. Full name? Lily Mae Carter, she said, her voice clear. Age? She paused. 7, I think, or maybe 8. The marshal wrote it all down. Her parents were James and Sarah Carter, Caleb explained. They were headed to California. They were supposed to meet an uncle here in Socorro, but they never found him. The marshal and Caleb shared a look. They both understood the grim truth without saying a word. With you, young lady, most folks who abandon children don't leave forwarding addresses. I know, Lily Mae said quietly. They're not coming back. The marshal's expression softened slightly. He turned his attention to Caleb. You understand what you're taking on? This isn't like keeping a stray dog. This is a human child who will need food, clothes, education, medical care if she gets sick. She'll need raising, and that's a full-time proposition, I understand. You married? Widower? 7 years. Any experience with children? None. But I've broken horses and managed cattle and kept myself alive in country that doesn't suffer fools. I figure I can learn what I don't know. The marshal studied him, weighing something. Why you don't know this girl from Adam? Why tie yourself down with someone else's responsibility? Because she was sitting by a well for 4 days and nobody came. Because she deserves better than what she got. Because I've got room and means and no good reason to say no except selfishness. Caleb's voice hardened. And because if we're the kind of territory that rides past abandoned children without stopping, then we're not worth the land we're standing on. The silence that followed was heavy but not hostile. Finally, the marshal nodded. All right, then. I'll file the papers. You'll be her legal guardian until she reaches majority, or until you petition for formal adoption. You understand she can be removed from your care if there's evidence of abuse or neglect? I understand. And you, Miss Carter? The marshal addressed Lily Mae. Directly. You understand this man's offering you a home, but if he treats you poorly, if he hurts you or fails to provide for you, you come straight to me. Nobody's got the right to mistreat a child, not even a legal guardian. You hear? Yes, sir. You want this arrangement? You're willing to go with Mr. Holt? Lily Mae looked at Caleb, her expression serious, and then back at the marshal. I want it. All right, then. The marshal signed the papers with a flourish, pressed his official seal into warm wax, and slid the documents across the desk. You're now officially Lily Mae Carter, ward of Caleb Hall. These papers prove it if anyone asks questions. Caleb folded the papers carefully, tucking them into his jacket pocket. Thank you, Marshal. Don't thank me yet. Come back in a year and tell me how it's going. If that girl's still healthy and happy, then we'll call this a success. They left the office, stepping out into the harsh midday sun. Lily Mae was quiet, processing what had just happened. The way her life had been officially altered by words on paper and wax seals. How do you feel? Caleb asked. Strange. Like something important happened, but I can't tell yet if it's good strange or bad strange. That's fair. We'll figure it out as we go. What now? Now we get you some proper clothes. Can't have you wearing that same dress until it falls apart. They walked down the main street to the general store, a large establishment that sold everything from mining equipment to ladies' hats. The proprietor, a woman in her 40s with sharp eyes and efficient movements, looked up as they entered. Help you folks? She asked. Need to outfit this young lady with some clothes, dresses, undergarments, shoes, whatever she needs. The woman's gaze moved from Caleb to Lily Mae, and something in her expression shifted. Not quite pity, but recognition of a familiar story. Come with me, sweetheart. Let's see what we can find in your size. Lily Mae looked to Caleb for permission, and he nodded. Go on. Pick what you like. I'll be right here. She followed the proprietor to the back of the store where ready-made dresses hung on hooks and bolts of fabric waited for those willing to sew. Caleb wandered the aisles, picking up supplies he'd need, Coffee, flour, sugar, lamp oil. He could hear the murmur of female voices from the back, the proprietor asking questions in a gentle tone, Lily May answering with her characteristic carefulness. 20 minutes later, they emerged. Lily May carried 2 dresses, one practical calico for everyday wear, one nicer cotton for town visits. The proprietor had added undergarments, stockings, and a pair of sturdy boots that actually fit. "She'll need a coat for winter, too," the proprietor said, pulling down a wool coat from a high shelf, "and a hat for summer sun. Girl, her age shouldn't be going bareheaded in this heat." Caleb nodded, adding these to the growing pile. Lily May watched with increasing anxiety as the items accumulated, her eyes darting to the prices marked on small tags. "This is too much," she whispered to Caleb. "I don't need all of this." "Yes, you do. And I can afford it, so stop worrying." "But, Lily May, if you had $100 and saw a fella freezing, you would buy him a coat, right? Well, let me do the same for this child." The store owner rang up the clothes, a sum that would normally last Caleb 3 whole months, but he paid without a second thought. "You are a good man, Mr. Hull," the owner said. "She is lucky to have you." Caleb surprised himself when he answered, "No, ma'am, I reckon I'm the lucky one." Later, over a hot lunch, Lily May ate like she was afraid the food might vanish. When Caleb told her to slow down, she looked ashamed. As they were finishing, a well-dressed woman walked over to their table, her eyes full of judgment. "Excuse me," she said to Caleb, "are you this little girl's father?" "I am her guardian," he replied. The woman's face soured. "It is not proper for a single man to raise a girl. People will talk." Caleb set his coffee cup down real slow. "Then let them talk. My business with Lily May is legal, and it is not their concern." "For appearances," she pushed, "she ought to be with a married couple, a real family." His voice got hard as iron. "I am a real family, and unless you are the law, I do not recall asking for your opinion." The woman flushed red. "I am just thinking of the child." "Then think on how it looks when you shame a child for accepting help." He stood tall over the table. "Now, if you will excuse us." Outside, Lily May's eyes were wide. "Will folks always think bad of me, staying with you?" she asked. "Some small-minded folks will," Caleb said. "But their opinions do not put food on our table. All that matters is what we know is true." They rode for miles in silence before Lily May spoke again. "Caleb, is there something wrong with me?" He stopped the horse and turned to face her. "Look at me, Lily May. There is not one single thing wrong with you. What happened to you was circumstance, not a flaw in your character. That woman in town, she sees the world through a keyhole. She thinks family only has one shape. But she is dead wrong. Family is what you build." Lily May looked at him, her voice small. "Are we a family then?" "Not yet," he answered honestly. "Family is something you earn over time. Ask me again in a year." She seemed to understand. Back at the ranch, as dusk settled, Lily May looked around the main room with new eyes. "What is it?" Caleb asked. "I was trying to see what that woman saw, trying to find what was so wrong and improper about this place," she said. "But all I see is a home where nobody yells, and I always have enough to eat. If this ain't proper, then I do not want to be proper." Something in Caleb's heart settled. A wall he did not even know was there finally coming down. "Me neither, kid." That night, they fell into an easy routine. After supper, Caleb read old folk tales aloud by the fire. When it was time for bed, Lily May smiled, a true and honest smile. "You handled yourself real well today," he told her. "You did not let that woman's words make you small." "Good night, Caleb," she whispered. He sat in the quiet for a long while, thinking. A week ago, his life was just about survival. Now it was about purpose. The weight of it all should have felt like a burden. Instead, it felt like he finally remembered what it was like to have a reason to get up in the morning. Before turning in, he paused at her door, just to hear the sound of her steady breathing. The world outside was vast and empty, but inside this little house, there were two heartbeats instead of one. He did not have all the answers, and he did not know if he would be any good at this. But he knew, with a certainty that settled deep in his bones, that he would try. He would show up every single day and give her the dignity and respect she deserved. In that quiet house, on the edge of a harsh land, one soul was learning to hope again, and the other was remembering why hope mattered in the first place. Something fragile and fierce and entirely their own. The seasons turned the way they always did in New Mexico, slowly, then all at once. Summer heat gave way to autumn's brief mercy. Then winter arrived with cold that cut through adobe walls and made the morning chores feel like penance. Through it all, Lily May grew, not just in height, though she did that too, her dresses requiring adjustment and then replacement. She grew in confidence, in competence, in the kind of quiet strength that came from knowing she belonged somewhere. The weariness that had marked her first weeks at the ranch gradually loosened its grip, though it never disappeared entirely. Some things, Caleb understood, left marks too deep to fully erase. By spring, nearly a year after he'd found her by the well, Lily May could manage the chickens without supervision, could help with sieving season when the cattle grew temperamental, could read aloud from the books Caleb brought back from Sakura with increasing fluency. She'd learned to ride the old mare Caleb had purchased for her, learned to mend fences and judge weather, and 100 other small skills that made up ranch life. But more than that, she'd learned to laugh, to ask questions without fear of being told she was bothersome, to take up space without apologizing for her existence. One morning in late April, with wildflowers painting the desert in unexpected colors, Lily May came in from feeding the chickens with her jaw set in the determined way that meant she'd been thinking about something serious. "Caleb," she said, setting the egg basket on the table with careful precision, "I need to talk to you about something." He looked up from the harness he was mending, reading her expression. "All right, sit down. This sounds important." She settled into the chair across from him, her hands folded in her lap in that old, careful way. At 8 years old, they'd settled on 8, celebrating her birthday in August with a cake that had turned out lopsided, but tasted fine. She still carried traces of the girl who'd waited by the well, but now those traces existed alongside newer elements: determination, curiosity, the beginnings of a self that wasn't defined solely by survival. "I've been thinking about my parents," she said, "about whether I should try to find them." The statement hit Caleb harder than expected. He set down the harness, giving her his full attention. "What brought this on?" "I had a dream last night about my mama. She was calling for me, saying she was sorry, saying she wanted me back." Lily May's voice remained steady, but her hands twisted together. "And when I woke up, I couldn't remember what her face looked like anymore. I can remember her voice, sort of, but her face is gone. And I realized, I don't know if that's because I'm forgetting or because I want to forget. Both can be true at the same time, but shouldn't I want to find them? Shouldn't I want to know why they left? Whether they ever looked for me? Whether they—" She stopped, the question too painful to complete. "Whether they regret it," Caleb finished gently. She nodded, her eyes bright with unshed tears. "Caleb." He chose his words like a man building a fence, one post at a time. "It is all right to want to know, Lily May. It is even all right to miss them. That does not make you untrue to the life you have now. But you also have to decide if the answers are worth the pain of finding them. What they tell you, good or bad, you will have to carry forever. So the real question is not if you should look. It is whether knowing will make your life better or just harder." She took that in. "Did you ever wonder about folks who left you? My brother in Texas sometimes. But I learned that the people who mean to be in your life will move heaven and earth to be there. The rest just fade away. Your parents know the way to Socorro. They could have come looking. They chose not to. Maybe they were just too afraid. Or maybe living with the knowing from far away was easier than facing you. I cannot tell you what to do," he said, his voice low and serious. If you want to find them, I will help you. But you do not owe them a thing, especially not forgiveness. What they did was leave a child behind. That is the long and short of it. Whether you let them back into your life is your choice and yours alone. I just do not know what I want, she whispered. Then wait. That question is not going anywhere. Give it time. A wave of relief washed over her. Can I ask something else? He nodded. That woman in town, the one who said people would talk. Are they talking about us? He sighed. Some are. Saw it myself last month. A couple of ladies went quiet when I walked past. But their judgment is a reflection on them, not us. It bothers you, though. He could not lie. It does. I worry their mean words might find a way to hurt you. It does not hurt me, she said plainly. Not as much as being alone did. I would rather have their whispers than have nothing at all. She had a way of seeing things that made her seem older than her years. You are tougher than I thought, he told her. I learned it from you. You do not let what other people think change your path. I try. But I am 44 years old. You are only 8. You should not have to be this tough yet. Maybe not, she said. But it is better to learn how to handle hard things than to pretend they are not there. A moment passed between them. I am going to get the eggs I missed, she said, standing up. That speckled hen always tries to hide them. He smiled a little. She is stubborn, that one. Takes after you. Lily May flashed a grin. I learned that from you, too. As she left, he knew this business with her parents was not over. When the time came, he would help her. But he prayed she would decide to leave that door closed. Some things, once known, could never be unknown. Spring bled into a hot summer. He taught her how to read tracks in the dust, and how to tell the weather from the sky. One afternoon, while checking a fence line, she pointed toward the road. Someone is coming, she said. A person on foot. He squinted and saw a lone figure moving slow, stumbling every now and then. They look like they are in trouble, Lily May said. They rode closer and saw it was a woman, maybe 30 years old. Her dress was torn and her face was cracked from the sun and pure exhaustion. As they got near, she looked up with a mix of desperation and hope in her eyes. Easy there, ma'am, Caleb said, swinging down from his horse. Are you all right? The woman swayed and he caught her arm to keep her from falling. She could barely speak. Water, she croaked. He gave her his canteen, and she drank like a person who had forgotten what water felt like. My place is just a mile up the road, he told her gently. We can get you there. They got her onto his horse, and she leaned against him, barely awake. Back at the ranch, they helped her into a chair. Lily May brought her a cup of water and a piece of bread. The woman looked like she had tangled with the wild and lost badly. My name is Caleb Hall, he said, after she had recovered a little. And this here is Lily May. What should we call you? Emma, she said, her voice getting stronger. Emma Price. Thank you. I left my husband in Socorro 3 days ago. He was not a kind man. He drank, and the drink made him mean. I finally had enough and just started walking. I thought I could make it to the next town, but I got lost. Her voice broke. You are safe here, Caleb said. Rest up. We will figure out the rest later. Lily May, who had been listening intently, asked a simple question. Did your husband hurt you? Yes, she whispered. After we married, he started to change. Lily May spoke up, her voice barely audible. My own mama used to have marks like that. She always said she was just clumsy, but I knew the truth. The confession settled over the room, heavy and cold. Later, Lily May stared out the window, looking 1,000 miles away. What if that meanness is inside me, Caleb? What if I got it from my father? He stood beside her. Look at me. That man's darkness is his own. It is not in your blood. You have a good heart. People who are truly mean don't ever worry about being mean. They just are. Can Emma stay for a while? Lily May asked. She can, Caleb answered. But this ranch can't be a shelter for every soul with a hard past. We help where we can. Emma stayed for 3 days, her spirit slowly mending. Over dinner on the 3rd night, she found her voice. I need to get to my sister in Santa Fe. I was too proud to go before, too ashamed to admit my husband was not a good man. Caleb nodded. Pride don't keep you safe. I'll take you to Sakuro tomorrow. But I don't have money for the stagecoach, she admitted. He took all I had. Caleb pulled out a roll of cash. This will cover your ticket and give you a fresh start with your sister. Emma just stared at the money, tears welling in her eyes. I cannot take this. You have done too much already. You can, and you will. Call it a loan. Pay me back when you are settled, or better yet, help the next soul who needs it. Why are you so kind? You barely know me. Caleb glanced over at Lily May. Because someone should have helped you sooner, and because doing the right thing feels better than buying things I do not need. Emma took his hand. You are a good man, Caleb Hall. I just try to be. The next morning, as Caleb got the horses ready, Emma knelt down to speak with Lily May. Thank you for making me feel less alone. I will be all right in Santa Fe. Caleb helped me see it is better to run towards something than just run away. That is a good way to look at it, Lily May agreed. Good luck, Emma. You have a good life here. Hold on to it tight. The ride to the stagecoach office was quiet. Caleb bought her ticket and pushed the rest of the money into her hand. You are sure? She asked. I am sure. Take care of yourself, Emma. And if your sister's husband is anything like yours, you get out of there fast. You hear me? I hear you. And Caleb, that girl of yours, Lily May, she is one of a kind. Do not let anyone tell you different. I will not. As the stagecoach disappeared down the road, Caleb rode home thinking about how strange life was. One small decision, one moment of kindness could change everything. Back at the ranch, he found Lily May pulling weeds in her garden. Did she get off okay? She asked. She did. Seemed a lot more hopeful. Good. Lily May paused. Caleb, I have been thinking about my folks. I believe you are right. They know where I am. If they wanted to find me, they would have by now. The fact they ain't come back tells me all I need to know, she said, tossing a weed aside. I am done waiting on ghosts. I would rather spend my time with the man who is actually here. Something swelled up in Caleb's chest, warm and mighty. That is a good way to see it. She looked up. And I have got a bigger question. Next year, when I am 9, can we get another horse? The mare is a good mare, but she is old. The simple question, the assumption of a future they would share, hit him like a ton of bricks. I reckon we can manage that, he said, his voice a little rough. Find yourself a young one you can train up right. The days turned into seasons, and their little arrangement turned into a life. It was not perfect. There were still hard days and bad dreams, but there was also laughter and good food and comfortable silence. That night, Caleb sat on the porch and thought about what the marshal had asked him. Why tie yourself down? The real answer was simple. He had taken Lily May in because being alone was its own kind of death. For 7 years, his walls had not kept out the pain. They just kept out everything else. They had saved each other from a loneliness deeper than any well. He had found a girl who needed a home, not realizing he needed someone to bring him home, too. The years flowed on. Lily May grew from a skinny child into a strong young woman. She learned the ranch inside and out, her mind as sharp as a tack from all the books Caleb brought her. By the time she was 16, she could read the weather and the cattle better than he could. She had a way with horses that was just plain magic. More than that, she grew into a person with a good heart and a clear eye, someone who stood up for what was right. She carried her past without letting it break her. The town of Socorro got used to them mostly. Family, they all learned, is about who shows up, not just who you are related to. One afternoon, when Lily May was a young woman, she walked in from the barn looking determined. We need to talk, she said. Caleb put down his ledger. At 63, his bones ached, but he knew her moods like the back of his hand. What is on your mind? She said. I have been offered a teaching job at the school, but it means I would have to live in town during the week. There it was. The future he knew was coming, but had tried not to think about. The thought of the house being empty 5 days a week made his chest ache. What do you want to do? He asked, his voice steady. I want to teach, she said. But I will not leave you to run this whole place alone. You are not as young as you were. I managed before you came, he said. That was 16 years ago, Caleb. She leaned forward, her eyes full of purpose. So, I am proposing we hire some help, and maybe sell off some of the herd. We do not need 100 head anymore. 30 or 40 would be plenty. You are worried I cannot handle you leaving. No, she said gently. I am worried you will try to do it all alone because you are too proud to ask for help. It is time you practice what you preach. A smile touched his lips. When did you get so smart? I learned from the best, she said, covering his hand with hers. I am not leaving you for good. I am just growing up. He knew she was right. This was not abandonment, it was just the next chapter, and it was supposed to happen. All right, he said at last. We will hire a hand and cut the herd. You take that job, just promise me you will talk to me if it gets to be too much. We will figure it out together. This ranch is my home too. You have always made me feel like I belong here. I have, and I meant every word. But a home should be a place you choose, not a place you are trapped. Lily May's eyes got misty, but she did not cry. How did I get so lucky to find you? I could ask you the same thing. They sat for a moment in the warm afternoon light. There is something else, she said softly. There is someone I would like you to meet. His name is Daniel, a carpenter in town. He would like to come for supper. The news caught Caleb off guard, not because she was too young at 23, but because he had not noticed her life growing beyond the ranch. How long has this been going on, he asked. About 6 months. It has started to get more serious, and I wanted you to meet him. Caleb looked at her face, saw the nervousness, but also saw her happiness. He is welcome for supper this Sunday. What is different about this one? She smiled. He really listens. He does not just wait for his turn to talk. He asks about my life, about this ranch, about you. He just wants to understand. He sounds like a good man. You would like him. He's quiet and capable like you. But he laughs a whole lot more easily. I can laugh. Caleb, you smile maybe twice a week. I smile on the inside. She laughed, a sound that filled the kitchen. Well, Daniel smiles on the outside. It is nice. Sunday arrived, a perfect autumn day. Lily May had cooked a feast, and Caleb had put on a clean shirt. He tried not to pace like a worried father. Daniel Crawford showed up right on time, riding a good horse and carrying flowers for Lily May. He had a firm handshake and an honest face. Mr. Hull, thank you for inviting me. Lily May has told me a great deal about you. All good, I hope. Nothing but, Daniel said with a glance at Lily May. She has enormous respect for you. More than I deserve, but I appreciate it. Come on in. Supper was easier than Caleb expected. Daniel was good company. He was interested in their life without being nosy. Lily May is going to be a fine teacher, Caleb said during the meal. She is patient. She has taught me a lot over the years. Like what? Daniel asked. Like how to let people in, and how family is something you build, not just something you are born with. Lily May's eyes met his across the table. I hope to build a family like that one day, Daniel said. One built on choice and respect. My folks are in Colorado, Daniel explained. They wanted me to take over the family business, but I wanted to build things with my hands, so you know what it means to choose your own way. I do, and I know how much it means when someone supports your choice. After dinner, Daniel asked to speak with Caleb alone on the porch. Mr. Hull, I want to be direct. My intentions with Lily May are serious and honorable. I would like to court her, with your blessing. You are asking for my permission? I am asking for your support. Lily May made it clear that your opinion matters more than anyone's. I will not move forward if you are not comfortable. Caleb appreciated the man's honesty. A part of him wanted to say no to keep her safe, but that was not fair to her. What are your plans for the future? Caleb asked, his voice steady. Daniel met his gaze without hesitation. My carpentry business in Socorro is growing strong. I am building a life there. I know Lily May has duties here to you in this ranch. I am not asking her to make a choice between us. I will work around her life here. but she is a woman who makes her own decisions. You have my blessing, Caleb said with a slow nod. But you need to understand, that girl has seen more trouble than most. If you cause her any pain, you will answer to me. I understand completely, Mr. Holt, Daniel replied, a slight smile on his face. I promise you, I will not hurt her. It is a privilege just to know her. Caleb nodded, feeling satisfied. When they went back inside, Lily May was waiting for them. Daniel squeezed her hand as he left for the night, and her bright smile told Caleb everything. Once Daniel was gone, she turned to Caleb, her eyes filled with nervous hope. Well, she asked, what is your opinion? He is a good man, but I must ask you something, and I need a truthful answer. Are you moving toward this new life because you truly want it, or because you feel you are supposed to want it? She took her time before answering. It is what I want. I have wanted to teach since I was 12 years old, since you gave me the gift of reading. And Daniel, he makes me feel happy. When I am with him, I am not the girl who was left behind or the girl who got lucky. I am simply Lily May. Then that is everything I need to know, Caleb said. You have my full support. Soon after, Lily May moved to Socorro. Caleb hired a quiet young man from Texas named Thomas to help on the ranch, and made the herd smaller. The house felt vast and empty. But he found a new rhythm. Solitude at 63 felt different, more peaceful. Lily May returned home each weekend, and Daniel often came with her. Caleb grew to genuinely like the young man. 2 years went by like this. Lily May became a beloved teacher, and Daniel's business did very well. One Sunday in the spring they arrived, and Caleb could see the news in their eyes before they spoke a word. He held up a hand. Let me guess, you two are engaged. Lily May's laughter filled the room. How did you figure it out? It is about time, honestly, Caleb replied. We would like to ask if we can hold the wedding here, Daniel said. This is the place that gave Lily May her foundation. A powerful warmth spread through Caleb's chest. I would be honored. The wedding took place on a beautiful June morning. A small group of neighbors and friends sat in chairs in the yard, looking toward the mountains. Lily May wore an elegant, simple dress she had sewn herself. Caleb, wearing his best suit, walked her down the aisle they had made. When they reached the altar, the minister asked who gave this woman in marriage. Caleb's voice was firm and clear. She gives herself, as she has always been free to do, but she does so with my blessing and my love. He then took his seat and watched as they promised to choose each other every single day. During the reception, Lily May found Caleb standing by himself, watching the happy crowd. I cannot stop thinking about how my life would be if you had not stopped your horse that day, she said quietly. I used to wonder about that, he admitted, but now I think some things are just meant to be. The world gets it right sometimes. We were both waiting by a well. Yours was made of stone, and mine was made of loneliness. She rested her head on his shoulder. Thank you, Caleb, for showing me that family is not about the people who leave. It is about the people who stay. He watched Daniel lead her away for a dance. Her smile back at him promised that this new beginning did not erase the past. It simply added a new, wonderful chapter to their story. The wedding was over. Lily May found Caleb on the porch watching the last of the daylight fade. Caleb, I have to tell you something. He turned, seeing the resolve in her eyes. Daniel and I, we want to build our life here. Not in some town, but here on this ranch with you. Caleb's heart gave a jolt. We want to expand the house, raise our children on this land. We want to help you with the work so you can slow down. Her voice grew thick with emotion. We are not leaving you. You will not be alone. All the lonely years Caleb had imagined for himself simply vanished. His life's work would not be sold off to strangers. His family was staying home. He saw his legacy standing right there in her eyes. Are you sure about this? Caleb asked, his voice rough. This is not some kind of duty, is it? This is home, she said simply. I want my children to learn from the man who taught me, and I will not let you grow old by your lonesome. She explained Daniel was on board, that he wanted to learn from Caleb, too. He pulled her into a hug. This woman who was once a lost little girl, now stronger than he ever was. "You chose me first," she whispered. 16 years ago at that well. I am just paying you back." As the sun went down, Caleb finally understood. Family is not about blood. It is about the choices you make every single day. For years, he figured being strong meant being alone. But that little girl at the well taught him real strength was letting people in. She showed him family was about commitment, about choosing each other again and again. So on her wedding day, she chose to build her new life right there with him, making sure he would never be lonely. The years went by. Lily Mae and Daniel added on to the house for their son Caleb, and then twin girls. The ranch filled with laughter. Old Thomas even bought the land next door. Caleb got older. His bones ached and his steps got slower, but he was never alone. He was too busy teaching his grandson to ride and his granddaughters about the land. He passed on all his hard-earned knowledge, turning survival into wisdom. For his 75th birthday, the whole family gathered. Lily Mae, still full of fire, told him to make a wish. He looked at the life they had built together and just shook his head. "I have got nothing left to wish for," he said. "Then wish for more of this," she smiled. So he did. He wished for exactly what he had, and for the first time, felt completely whole. 2 years later, Caleb Holt passed away peacefully in his sleep on a frosty winter morning. Lily Mae found him at peace, his long journey over, surrounded by the family that had chosen him. Of course, there were tears, but underneath was a deep sense of gratitude. He had lived to see his one good deed at that well ripple out into a beautiful life. They buried him on a hill overlooking his land. The gravestone said it all. He stopped when others would have passed by. The ranch continued with Lily Mae and Daniel teaching their own children the same lessons. Young Caleb learned that real strength is about making room for others. Years later, when Lily Mae was a grandmother herself, the little ones would ask about the old stone well. She would tell them about a lost girl and a lonely man, and how one moment of kindness changed everything. "Did they save each other?" a grandchild would ask. Lily Mae would just smile. "No, honey. They chose each other. And they kept on choosing every single day. That is what family is. It is not about saving someone. It is about staying with them." Her whole life was proof that what really mattered was just showing up. The well is still out there, a quiet reminder for anyone who passes. It tells a truth on the wind. Loneliness is not your destiny, and one good choice can change the world. Sometimes the right person comes along not to rescue you, but to walk beside you. That is what they gave each other. Not a rescue, but company for the long road. They chose to love when it would have been easier to stay protected. And in that choice, they built a family stronger than any bloodline, held together by pure grit and grace. The land remembers their story. It is a reminder that the biggest adventure you can take is not across a map. It is finding someone worth putting down roots for, and then having the heart to build a life one ordinary day at a time. This content was carefully researched, developed, and manually edited by our team to deliver meaningful stories with valuable life lessons. Every narrative is crafted to entertain, inspire, and empower our audience. We believe that great stories can change lives, and we are committed to bringing you content that matters. Thank you for being part of our community.